December 1787, Pennsylvania was the second colony to be admitted to the new United States of America after Delaware. A Swedish man named Peter Minuit rightly claimed an area west of Jersey or New Jersey in 1638. From Wilmington, Delaware, Governor Johann Prince established a colony of New Sweden on the Tinicum Island, or New Gothenburg, in 1643. Then, in 1681, King Charles II gave William Penn the land grant for what is now known as Pennsylvania. It actually was named after William Penn's father, Admiral Penn. Previously, I have reviewed the pioneer development of the eastern U.S. up to and beyond the Revolutionary War. Pennsylvania, given its location and fertile and varied landscape, played a key role as a magnet for many immigrants seeking religious and economic independence. Between the 1680s and the War of Independence, the majority of an estimated 100,000 German-speaking immigrants coming to North America settled in Pennsylvania, making up approximately 30% of Philadelphia's population by the 1760s. You might say that Pennsylvania was the most German-American state, and probably still is. Pennsylvania initially also drew an influx of conservative Quakers. These pacifist religious devotees were followed by and gradually displaced by other continental European sects practicing unique communal obligations from residents. While antisocial in a sense, these missionary-inclined groups were nevertheless extraordinarily successful in wooing Native Americans to the Christian faith. Coincidentally, the religious conversions also fostered mostly peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. In spite of the pockets of Christianized or Pacific pioneers, much fighting during the French and Indian War took place in Pennsylvania. A young George Washington journeyed through the region into the Ohio Valley. Later, the English general Edward Braddock was defeated by French forces and their Indian allies. Pennsylvania's capital, Philadelphia, was the site of the First and Second Continental Congresses in 1774 and 1775. Here was drafted the Declaration of Independence, sparking the American Revolution. The state is understandably diverse. One of the most unique traveler attractions, though, remains, as it has for a century or more, the charms of the farming culture mid-state and in the Delaware Valley, and particularly the influence impressed on the region by the remaining large constituency of so-called Pennsylvania Dutch. Actually, Pennsylvania Deutsch, Pennsylvania Germans. The ancestors of the Pennsylvania Dutch spoke Palatine German and other South German dialects. This language is spoken today among adherents of the Amish and Old Order Mennonite sects, the plain people, that practice their religion here and across North America and elsewhere today. Mennonites and Brethren share with the plain folk generally a pacifist philosophy as a guiding principle that greatly parallels the neighborly Quaker social standard of discourse. The largest influx of Germans during the 18th century traced to the southwestern Germany, the Rhineland-Palatinate, and Baden-Württemberg. Other prominent groups were Alsatians, Dutch, Huguenots, Moravians from Bohemia and Moravia, and Swiss Germans. Fancy Dutch, mostly Lutheran and Catholic believers, also settled on the rich farmlands of Pennsylvania's interior. The Mennonites are Christian Anabaptist denominations, named after the Frisian, or Dutch, Menno Simons, 1496 to 1561. Simons's writings formalized the teachings of earlier Swiss founders. After 1536, Menno led congregations also in the German states of Lower Saxony and Schleswig-Holstein. In the 18th century, 100,000 Germans from the Palatinate, collectively known as Pennsylvania Dutch, emigrated to Pennsylvania. Of these, around 2,500 were Mennonites and 500 Amish. In the late 1600s, a group of believers in Alsace, led by Jacob Ammon, split from the mainstream of Mennonites, mainly due to a dispute concerning the practice of avoidance or shunning. His community opted to avoid all contact with believers turned unbelievers. Menno Simons was ordained a Roman Catholic priest in 1515 or 1516 in Utrecht, then was appointed chaplain in his father's village of Pingjom. In 1535, his brother Pieter was among a group of Anabaptists killed near Bolsward, who attempted a violent takeover of a Catholic monastery known as Oude Klooster. Menno himself rejected the Catholic Church then and the priesthood early in 1536, and eventually became the Reformation's Bible-centered theological leader of what became known as Mennonists or Mennonites. Menno became more widely known when Herman and Gerrit Yancey were arrested and beheaded for having lodged Simons. With his wife Gertrude, Menno Simons raised at least 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. Mennonites or Anabaptists congregated in growing numbers in Alsace, the German-French border, southwest Germany and Switzerland in the Black Forest and Baden-Baden area, as well as across Dutch Friesland, Menno Simons' home region, and eventually in Protestant strongholds across Europe to Russia. first permanent settlement of Mennonites in the American colonies consisted of one Mennonite family and 12 Mennonite Quaker families of Dutch extraction who arrived from Krefeld, Germany in 1683 and settled in Germantown, Pennsylvania. These folks apparently registered the first formal protest against slavery, then practiced by some slave-holding Quakers themselves. During the colonial period, Mennonites opposed the Revolutionary War, voiced resistance to public education, and advocated for separation of church and state. Volumes of books could be written and have been written on the dynamic influence of all of these early settlers on the history of the U.S. Today, a road or walking tour along the roads and paths of Lancaster County and neighboring area offers visitors an occasional glimpse of a simpler time when inhabitants of Pennsylvania relied on manpower over industrialization to create prosperity and family welfare. I would like to take a quote from Alexis de Tocqueville's travel diary number 3, scratched down in 1831. I quote, "It is at least 60 years since colonies of Germans came to settle in Pennsylvania. They have preserved intact the spirit and mores of their homeland. A nomadic population bustles around them, a population in which the desire for wealth knows no limits, and which is tied to no place and tethered to no bond, being ready to go wherever the lure of fortune leads. Immobile amid all this activity, the German restrains his desire to improve his and his family's position. He works constantly but leaves nothing to chance. Slowly but surely he acquires wealth. He sticks to home and hearth, circumscribes his happiness within its horizon, and feels no curiosity about what lies beyond his last furrow.